I know you watched the Colts game too. Like, what player was, if you just, Haberman, you didn't know either player. You're just like, these are two quarterbacks. You'd probably say the Eagles guy's a better player than the guy in the blue.
Jalen Hurts looked better than Carson Wentz last week. Yes.
Yeah.
Having watched both games.
He's Lamar gets herky-jerky when he runs. Now, he's way faster than Jalen, but he's like a runner who passes. Jalen has kind of become a passer who can run, right? Like he does the Deshaun Watson where he scrambles the left or right to keep it alive, but throws.
Well, his thing, when you watch him, you're not watching Lamar Jackson as a runner, right? He's closer to like
Russell Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not going to break off. I mean, it's just, even he's physically, he's solid. He's really comfortable. One of the things I thought watching Hurts was this guy did play at Alabama and Oklahoma in some massive games. And I think here he is in a new environment now, right? Year 2, new coach. He just looks up to speed. He looks comfortable, spread the ball around. They look good. Now Atlanta, as we've talked about this, Atlanta probably stinks.
Yeah.
But, I think Hurts looks better than Wentz. I think Devontae Smith looked better than Kyle Pitts in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Jalen Hurts had a lot of time to throw. Like they protected, or Atlanta can't.
Guy, that's part of the deal. I mean, their offensive line is potentially the best offensive line in the league.
But do you agree like Atlanta has 0 playmakers on defense just from watching them week 1?
Yeah, but I'm just saying like their offensive, what I was told this during camp was like our lines are good. And then you watch them, you go, they got Lane Johnson, who's one of the best right tackles. Brandon Brooks is the best guard. He tore his Achilles last year, but he's back. Kelsey is like a borderline Hall of Famer. The hair guy, the left guard, I don't even know his name, but he just fucking tosses guys. And then they got the Australian guy that Howie just gave $70 million to. Like
Andre Dillard not even in the picture.
No, he's a backup. And then their skill guys, they have several. I mean, Devontae Smith won the Heisman. It was like a legit, top 15 pick. Rager, he's still a work in progress, but he scored a touchdown in that game. He can run.
Doesn't have to be the number 1 receiver.
No. And then they have Ertz and Goddard, who Goddard, people forget, was a second-round pick. And he's better than Ertz now. And then Ertz is just still a functional player. Miles Sanders, the running back, is the guy that took over for Saquon Barkley at Penn State. He's not like Saquon Barkley, like it's a different style, but he's a speed, fast back. He's just good. Like their skill guys around Jalen are kind of like what Jalen's used to, right? He just has a lot of talent around him. And then his offensive line, like to me, I'm watching their offense. I go, this thing's going to give this is a pretty good offense if the quarterback's playing.
They also got the ball a few times to, is he 15 or 16, Quez Watkins, who's like a 6th rounder out of
4.2 guy.
He looks like Devontae Smith. Market inefficiency.
He can fly.
That's what I would do. I get a bunch of guys that look the same. Hard to tell who's who when you're running around on the field. Like, where's Devontae? I don't know. Now, I looked him up. He's 23 pounds heavier than Devontae Smith, but he's pretty skinny too, and he's fast. He's fast.
Well, you can be 23 pounds heavier than Devontae and still be like 188.
He's 193. 193 is what they listed him at.
Devontae, that touchdown against the Falcons, again, that was a good play call, but you can just tell those guys.
John, he had a drive. He had 4 catches on 1 drive at one point.
He's good.
No, I think he's fantastic. Like he looks kind of reminded me of the way, remember early on, it was like Amari Cooper. Like this guy knows how to play receiver. That's kind of what I thought watching Devontae is. This guy is ready to play in the NFL.
I think Devontae is the type player, and we'll talk about Brandon Ayuk probably more in the next podcast once Kyle, I'm sure, is asked about him tomorrow, is what they want to, Brandon Ayuk to be a pro. The number one thing about Devontae, beside just the talent, was like how serious the motherfucker is. Like he is just like, Amari. We
until the post game celebration. Did you see him dancing shirtless?
Yeah, well, you get to enjoy wins.
Leader, John.
Enjoy wins. But I just think this team that, we looked at the schedule when the schedule first came out, like 2-0. You just watch that team. It's not just going to be an easy win, right? And really, their defensive line is also excellent. So their offense is good. Their D-line's good. The back seven's not very good. But, you got to have to block these guys. Like McGlinchey, we talked a lot with Joe Staley last week about McGlinchey. Like, this is a McGlinchey game. Like, you're going to have Brandon Graham and some good players over you in passing situations, right?
Yeah. Brandon Graham made a play that he would have been ejected in college, and it was a running play up the middle, and
he would have been ejected for that in college.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just saying he just it was like when you watch those old NFL films,
it was clowny like.
It's like the NFL, boom, 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 a car crash every 8 seconds, boom, 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 boom. Like that's what it was.
I actually think it's good for Kyle because you can just throw on the film and be like, these guys are good. It's not like,
Yeah.
they weren't supposed to be that good, or they're going to be the last place team in the division. I think when the dust settles, they're clearly not could they win the division? I mean,
Yeah. Is there a great defense in that division?
no.
I mean, Washington could solid on defense, right?
Yeah, Washington's good on defense.
Brian on YouTube says, "Will the Eagles be able to stop the Niners?" I don't see that. Nate says Kittle should have a big game. I do think they'll be able to run the ball. The Niners should be able to run the ball.
Well, their linebackers suck, and their DBs are not great. So I'm not trying. I think we're just kind of laying it out.
Appropriate fear. Like, they are better than the way we talked about them 2 months ago. And you've been saying it, you've been hearing it. And then I watched them and I agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, Sirianni might know how to call offense. He might. Now, again, it's Atlanta. It's 1 week of the NFL season. The biggest part to me is Hurts is with you. Hurts is better. Hurts is really solid. Like, he might be good. At minimum, he looks really solid.
Well, sometimes like with Lamar on Monday night and it's natural with running quarterbacks who really might take off. Michael Vick used to do this too. They're not like scared frenetic, right? Pocket quarterback guys like, God, is he kind of freaking? They just kind of get like, should I get my feet ready? Should I rev the engine so I take off? Like Lamar turns into that. Jalen is not for a running quarterback. I think he had 65 yards in that game. He kind of just floats around and then he'll take off. But he's not. He'll scramble backwards, but he's not. I don't feel he's frenetic in the pocket. I feel he plays calm.
And they'll do some zone read stuff, right? They do create for him too.
Oh,
so
again,
he just stress. Yeah, he stresses the defense a little, but
Matt Ryan might be Matt Schaub, Oakland Raider version right now. Kyle Pitts, I had the thought, like, is it not even going to be his fault? But people are going to be like, oh, this is the most hype player ever when he has 38 catches all season.
Yeah, I think it might not be his fault. No, they got Ridley, but I just, how are they going to stop people?
Well, they scored 6 points.
The first drive looked really. The first drive, the curse of the first drive. But first drive kicked a field goal.
You got to score touchdowns. But part of this, the Niners. I've been to a lot of games, obviously, at this stadium. This stadium can turn on the home team when they're not good. But when you give them hope or there's hype coming in, like the place opening weekend, they won their first game. They're playing a highly touted, hyped team. Kyle, just the Niner brand. Like that place is gonna be a challenging environment. One key, probably dive into the game more Thursday, but like I think starting fast. You don't want to get to a position where you're down 10-0 and that place is going ape shit. I think scoring early, like that first drive, you get down there, it can't be a Robbie Gould field goal. Like you got to get 7 on the board.
Yeah, it's I think that's going to be a theme for the Niners all year long, given their run game and their secondary. I think it's going to be hard to play from behind. Garoppolo.
But not, I mean, depending on who you're playing, not everyone can just keep scoring on you. That's part of it. Right, like Seattle. If you got down like 10-0 in Seattle, it happened to a couple times with Harbaugh. You're like, oh my god, and then all of a sudden you look up, it's like 38-7. It could snowball to you certain places when your DBs can't cover those wide receivers. I don't know if Philly's quite that explosive. I'm just saying, like, if it got out of hand early, like I do think you would be able to kind of make some shit happen. But I do think it's really important against these guys. You don't want to give like an underdog. And ultimately, I think it's been easy for Sirianni. Like, no one fucking thinks we're going to be any good, and we're good. Like all you guys, we got good players. We got a lot of highly touted guys. We got a lot of first-round picks. We got a lot of guys making a lot of money here. You start giving them life. That's where, to me, you just got to – the Niners did a good job with the Lions, right? They just hit them right in the mouth, and they just kept hitting them.
They did, but the problem in that game ends up being you're playing from ahead. Detroit just doesn't quit. You're running a ton of plays. Do you know the 49ers ran 55 plays in that game? You know how many plays the Lions ran? 84.
Jesus, I didn't know that.
So if you just and then the night players are getting hurt, so guys can't come out of the game. It's just you'd like to be able to run I'd hate for 2 weeks of the season to go by. They played 2 road games, guys are hurt, and your defense is already a little bit gassed early in the year.
I agree. You just got to find a way.
And now you're chasing Jalen Hurts around.
You get out of this 2-0 though, you're in pretty good shape, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the injuries. That's
Plan
part
on
of it.
natural gas. Plan on natural grass. This week.
I mean, I've just scrolled through Roto World. I mean, I had this thought last night when the cart came out. It looked like the Raiders upgraded their cart. They got a normal cart, even though I
Oh.
think one of the Ravens sat in the front seat of the one, but that was by choice.
He's the guy that sits in the front of the Uber just because.
Did you feel this way? I felt like I saw the cart come out in a lot of games. I saw a lot of players get carted off week one, guy.
I mean,
all around the league. I mean, it felt like 20 plus players got carted off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Raiders lost several players, like you said.
The Ravens lost one. I saw the cart 3 guys last night.
The cart didn't come out, but Frank Clark and Honey Badger weren't even playing for the Chiefs the other day. Like there are a lot of guys. And the other thing you're getting a ton of cramping.
Yeah.
I think guys are not in as good a game ready shape.
Well, you can't tell me that in 1998 the cart came out week 1 25 times, whatever it did. Like they were just more equipped to start the season than they are in 2021. Yeah. I will not.
I think somebody said a while ago there's a study that shows like guys getting hurt less.
Yeah, ACLs and Achilles. Like you can't convince me that those are popping because these guys go from like 70% to 100 instead of being at like, in the 90s to 100, right? That's why I think one theory I have on Kyler, obviously Jalen, I think it's harder for these running quarterbacks. Even if you're an average defense or a good defense, you're like, what the fuck is this? Like we haven't been doing this. And then all of a sudden it's like my ACL pops as I'm chasing the guy. Listen, I know the league's just made $110 billion or whatever the deal was, but it's just the injuries. I feel like it's not only not going away. I think it's only going to get worse and worse as the years go on.
It feels that way. And with the artificial surface feels like it's a part of it.
Which is scary.
Yeah.